The one thing that I'm most afraid of happening to me as a Pokemon Go player just happened to Trainer Club, who is arguably one of the biggest Pokemon Go YouTubers in the world. And I think this brings up a big discussion. Is it okay for Niantic to ban players for doing things like spoofing? And then also, what are they doing about false positives? I really do think we gotta talk about this because if Scopely wants to see success with Pokemon Go, they really need to make sure that they do not ban the wrong players. Alright, what's happening everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. So things are going really well right now within Pokemon Go. At least for me, I was able to complete some hyper training for my Pokemon that I'm currently hyper training, and I feel like the buzz around Pokemon Go is generally very positive. I see a lot of players that I typically find to play the game a little bit more casually, now they're playing a bit more hardcore. And then of course, for myself, I have been playing the game way more than I was before. And a big component of that is of course some really solid in-game events, as well as hyper training. I do think hyper training was probably the best addition for driving up engagement in Pokemon Go. But besides the point, one thing I really want to talk about, because it's something that has always been at the top of my mind, is whether or not I'm ever going to get banned for playing Pokemon Go. I really enjoy the game, I've dedicated a lot of time into the game, and to see a lot of that time get erased because Niantic feels like I did some sort of cheating, yeah, that is definitely something that is at the top of my mind. I'm not saying that I do anything that merits a ban. I do not spoof, I do not do anything, I feel, that breaks the terms of service. I played the game as legitimately as possible, but there are still people who get false positives. One of the big cases that we all know of is, of course, recently with Trainer Club. He got banned because he travels a lot, and of course the game flagged him as GPS spoofing. And then back in the day, I don't know if you know about this YouTuber, Lucky Buns, they kind of made a name for themselves simply because they went through a false ban. They got banned and it took them a very long time to get their account back. But that was another famous case where someone that has a little bit of clout when it comes to the Pokemon community, like they got their account banned. And of course, eventually they got their accounts back, but I feel like this is something that has always been at the top of my mind. What if my account ever gets banned? What happens to me if I were to lose my Pokemon Go account? I think it would be devastating, honestly. I've been playing the game pretty much since day one. I'm a day one player. If you look at my account, the day that I started playing Pokemon Go was the day that Pokemon Go was released. And I've been playing the game pretty much every single day ever since. I've collected pretty much every single legendary, I've collected a whole bunch of shinies, I've dedicated thousands of hours into Pokemon Go, and there are certain Pokemon that I have that have a lot of sentimental value. There's a Pokemon that I got from my wedding day. It was a 100% IV Raikou. Of course, some of the really cool Pokemon that I've gotten from Pokemon Go Fests and from different travels. I really have a lot of good Pokemon in my collection, not necessarily just powerful Pokemon. It's just a lot of Pokemon that have a lot of sentimental value. And for a collection-based game like this, it's really nice to have certain Pokemon that I will keep as kind of like a memento for a lot of the things in my life. But yeah, I think because of that, I would be extremely devastated if I were to ever get banned. I think one of the things that I have always employed when it comes to playing Pokemon Go is just protecting your own account from getting banned. And what do I mean by that? Well, just simply not cheating. No GPS spoofing, no this or that, no, I don't know, multi-accounting. Like, there's a lot of things that I specifically avoid just to protect my account. But in spite of that, I still always worry that maybe through a huge ban wave, that I'm going to get my account flagged as a false positive. I do travel quite a bit. I do open up Pokemon Go in different cities pretty much at least once or twice every season. And, you know, I just worry that Pokemon Go is going to think that I'm GPS spoofing. So that kind of leads me to think, like, should Niantic be banning players for spoofing? I know that's going to be a very controversial point of discussion, but I talk to a lot of people who do GPS spoof. I do have friends who play the game and they use GPS spoofing apps and methods, and I talk to them all the time. They say that the way that they play Pokemon Go, it's basically with the mindset that their account could eventually get banned. So they try not to hold a lot of sentimental value with any of their Pokemon. They just play the game assuming that one day they're going to lose their account, and that's probably the way that most spoofers play their account. And personally, I can't enjoy the game that way. I feel like I really can't enjoy Pokemon Go if it was something that I could just go anywhere and collect whatever I want. I just feel like the little bits of challenge that's there, like the fact that you have to go out and go to different parks and different locations, that you have to go out to raids physically, or, you have to do raids remotely, however, whatever you have to do. Like, I actually enjoy that aspect of Pokemon Go. In some cases, it's going to be really difficult for people who live in like rural areas. I totally understand that, but I think for me who lives in a suburban area, there is a bit of a Goldilocks kind of an area. Like, I don't know. I feel like the game is in a good place. There's a lot for me to do, even though I do not live in a major city. I mean, sometimes I could drive out to the major city. I can go to downtown Chicago and get a huge experience while I'm out there, but ultimately it doesn't necessarily feel like I need to be in a big city to really enjoy the game. I could just go out to a park that's nearby, or maybe on a walk or a run. If I'm doing my morning jog, I will have Pokemon Go open, collect some kilometers, hatch some eggs, spend Pokestops along the way. Like, overall, it's still a very positive experience. So I don't ever feel the need to spoof. I don't think I've ever done anything that, Niantic would consider to be cheating. And I feel like, personally, it's just always something that's in the back of my mind. I really do not know what's going on over at Niantic and Scopely, what they deem as bannable, but at the very least, I know that for the very obvious things that will get your account banned, like, those are the things that I am avoiding, specifically GPS spoofing. So yeah, I do think this is very pressing. I'm very concerned because for Trainer Club to get banned, that is definitely something that I never expected. He's someone who is basically in the pocket of Niantic. They interact with each other all the time, and that's not a fault to him. I know some people are very iffy about content creators being so supportive of Pokemon Go, but really, I feel like that's just a reward for the hard work that he's put into his channel. That he has very strong connections with people at Niantic, and that's because he's put in the work to build up his YouTube channel to get to that point. And I totally respect that, and I totally celebrate that. But yeah, even for someone like him to get banned, that is insane. That is absolutely crazy to think about. Because for myself, I would say I'm a bit of a medium-sized YouTuber. I don't have the kind of influence that Trainer Club has, but I do feel like I'm big enough at this point. If Trainer Club could get banned, who's to say that I can't get banned? There is definitely a strong possibility that one day I could be out in a different city. I could fly over to, let's say, I don't know, Jersey City, or actually in a month from now, I'm going to be in Korea for a couple of weeks. I feel like there is a strong possibility that Niantic could look at my account, say, hey, he typically plays in the Chicagoland area, but now he's in Korea for about 2 weeks. We need to ban him because it looks like he's spoofing, even though I'm not. There is a strong possibility that could happen. So yeah, these are just some of the things that I think about. I really hope that if Niantic is watching this video, the one thing I would ask is that you fine-tune your algorithms and just understand that people do travel. And maybe some people, they might be doing things that look like cheating, but they're not actually cheating. That is something that I really do think they need to consider, because not everyone is going to play in a big city, not everyone is going to play in a rural area, and not everyone is just going to stay in the same place pretty much the entirety of their life. There's going to be people who are going to constantly travel, people are going to have GPS issues, and they're going to GPS drift all over the place. These are some of the things that I really hope Niantic is paying attention to before they consider banning players. Because yeah, for people like I talk to when it comes to like GPS spoofers, like I said, they kind of play their game as if they're assuming they're going to get banned one day. So I do believe that it's okay for Niantic to obviously ban spoofers. It doesn't really affect other players though. I don't understand why anyone would care so passionately about people GPS spoofing. I personally used to get very offended by it, but over time I just realized it doesn't really affect me. The only time it does affect me is if I'm trying to take down a gym and then GPS spoofers come in and snipe it. I think that's totally bogus, but aside from that, I never really had problems with spoofers over time, and I know some players still vehemently hate spoofing, but personally I feel like it's not an issue, and if people want to play that way, you know, as long as they understand that their account will likely get banned, you know, let them have it. I don't really care about it either way. But yeah, I don't know, I'm just rambling at this point. I just kind of wanted to just turn on the camera and just talk because, you know, after I saw that video from Trainer Club, it was something that I was deeply thinking about. All the time that I invested into Pokemon Go, all the special Pokemon that I've caught along the way, like my wedding Pokemon, my first Hundo, my first Shundo, a lot of this stuff I really care about, and the thought of that stuff going away one day because of a false positive, yeah, that sounds very devastating. So yeah, I just wanted to share some of those thoughts, and yeah, maybe this will lead to something very positive for Pokemon Go, who knows. But in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about down below. Have you ever experienced your account getting banned unjustly? Like, have you ever experienced a false positive? Do you know anyone else that may have experienced that? Or are you a GPS spoofer? Let me know your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about, because yeah, there's a lot of contention between GPS spoofers and legit players. I do understand that, and I contributed to that in the past. I totally will admit that. But, you know, I think if we can all talk to each other, I think if we can all just have a very nice based discussion, then I think we could reach a middle ground, and I think we could be very productive towards a much better game. So that's just my personal opinion, but definitely share your thoughts in the comments down below, and yeah, let's have that civil and peaceful discussion down there. So yeah, and thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. If you ended up enjoying it, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that notification bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. Real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Content Slow channel, the best way you can do that is going to be by joining my Patreon. If you decide to become a paid Patreon member, I'm going to add you to my Pokemon Go friends list. That means for stuff like remote raids, the friendship system, opening and sending gifts, different things like that. If you want to play Pokemon Go with me, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. I'll put a link to it in the description below. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you could do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms you see on the bottom of your screen, like Instagram and X and all that cool stuff. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow, and you'll have access to some exclusive content, and you'll be able to keep up with my daily life. And finally, I actually opened up an Etsy store. If you're a big fan of K-pop and anime and a whole bunch of other stuff, make sure you go and check out my Etsy store. I'm adding products every single day. It's a whole bunch of K-pop merch, and you can consider it the official merch for my YouTube channel. If you have someone in your life who really enjoys K-pop and you feel like this could be a really cool gift for them, or you yourself really enjoy K-pop, make sure you go and check out my Etsy store. Maybe you'll find something that you will really like. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself today, and I'll catch you all later.